Welcome to TehachaPod, the City of Tehachapi's podcast, where we share conversations with local leaders, business owners, and community members. Don't miss an episode. Be sure to follow and subscribe to learn something new and discover ways to get involved in our community. It's TehachaPod time. Key Budge, Corey Costello. Today, Corey, you and I haven't worked together in a while. It's good to see you.
You know what? I got banished to another building, and it's like I don't exist anymore, unless the heavy hitters show up, right?
Well,
when we got big-time guests.
We let your code work today so you could get in the door.
That's right, yeah, somehow.
But
you overrode it.
We gave you the green light.
Yeah.
But today is our chamber highlight. Claire Scotty joins us. Claire, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here.
And the one thing that whenever Claire and I talk about having the chamber highlight show, we say we want to highlight our locally owned businesses. And today you brought in a special guest.
Yes, we have Matt Battaglia from House of Wax.
Matt, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
You just had, as we record today, we're kind of towards the end of June, but you just had the ribbon cutting for your second location or your new location that you moved to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we just had the ribbon cutting last Saturday for our new location on Tehachapi Blvd.
And you were in the what used to be Tehachapi Mattress. Is that what it was?
TehachaSleep.
Yeah.
TehachaSleep.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right in the heart of downtown.
Yeah, exactly. We're right between Nanette Keller Boutique and the Art Center, Tehachapi Art Center. So yeah, it's a great location. We're super happy to be there.
And you opened up originally in a little tiny space.
Yeah, I think little tiny is an overstatement.
Yeah,
it was
like half the size of this, studio.
Yeah. It was kind of like the broom closet at Village Co.
Pretty much, yeah.
But you guys launched there.
Yes.
And what was that experience like for you guys for House of Wax, being a record store, kind of a throwback, and here you go, this is the first space that's available, and how'd that go?
It was great. We, we were going to start initially just as like an online store. And then we pretty quickly realized like we wanted to have a brick and mortar location too. So we started looking around, and we were actually initially looking at one of the bigger spaces over at the Village Co. And we met Amber, who was working there at the time. And, we quickly realized that the bigger space was well out of our initial budget. But she showed us some of the smaller office spaces, and she said there was no reason we couldn't convert it into like a retail space. But it was very small. It was like, I think, a little less than 200 square feet. So, we used to joke it was the Harry Potter closet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it worked out great as a place to start. We were able to build a clientele there, and the people at the Village Co. are awesome. Maya, who I don't know if she's still there or not, Amber, Karen, everybody there was super helpful. And it was just, like I said, it was a great place for us to start out.
And you're just a big success story, I think, in general, between you were the first retail to open up in Village Co. And we kind of had the feeling that Village Co. would be a little bit of like a incubator for some people, an accelerator for some people, or just a great spot to have office space. But you guys were the first retail store to kind of operate out of there. And you guys, and then you had that success, and then TehachaSleep had a lot of success downtown. They needed more space, so they went up to the Tehachapi Town Center by Save Mart, opened up. And so, like, all these little success stories kind of led you guys to be able to move, which is a great sign of, obviously, your business model, but then just the appetite for what you guys offer.
Yeah, for sure. And, being able to move into the bigger space was something we weren't expecting to be able to do for at least a couple of years. We thought we'd be in Village Co. for probably 2 years and then hopefully start looking for a space. But we know how seldom spaces on Tehachapi Boulevard and Green Street become available. So when we saw that TehachaSleep was moving out, we just immediately started eyeballing the location and started daydreaming about it. And we were able to make it happen, which is really cool. It's a testament to our regulars and our customers who have helped us out in this first year. And to be able to even dream of doing something like this is really kind of beyond what we imagined initially. So it's really cool.
And it really showed during the ribbon cutting and the grand opening day. I walked in and the place was packed. It was absolutely packed. And so, brought everybody out to do the ribbon cutting out front, and, this whole group of individuals in the community that we don't always see, the next generation coming up. Mm-hmm. And it was so exciting to see the support and see how many people came out for records and enjoyed that event.
Yeah, it was cool. We were joking, Kim and I, my wife who owns the store with me, we wouldn't have been able to fit 6 or 7 people in our original space at once, and we had 60 or 70 in there the other day during the ribbon cutting. So it was just really kind of mind blowing a little bit, but it was great.
And you did a great job in the space because it feels like a classic vinyl shop. I mean, you go in, you did with the paint and everything, and just the way you decorated it and everything, and the bins of just albums, which is. Kids these days don't get a chance to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm of that generation, grew up analog. We had the big gigantic cabinet record player.
Absolutely.
When I was first born, and then we moved to cassettes, and then CDs, and then now we're digital. So I've been through it all. But when you thumb through vinyl, especially because you're just looking, especially used vinyl, just trying to figure out what's there, it's kind of cool. And kids don't, the younger generation didn't go to the Sam Goodies, even go through CDs, let alone go through vinyl.
Sam Goody, wow, that's a blast from the
Right?
past. Yeah, I miss those places.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You got all excited to go see what the newest release was or what you could find buried in bins somewhere. And so you kind of brought that nostalgia back. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Kim and I always say, like, the dig is half the fun.
Yeah.
And that's, like you said, something that maybe younger generations don't really even have a concept of.
Yeah.
I guess Kim and I are like what would be classified as elder millennials.
Yeah.
So we were like, I was the first house on my block to have internet. So we've kind of had a little bit of both. Like we had CD, we had digital, we were early MP3s, and now streaming. And it's so easy for someone to just scroll through their phone and pick whatever kind of music they want to listen to, or just hit shuffle and let the algorithm pick for them. But going and actually sorting through physical media and seeing the artwork and digging through and finding stuff you never would have found before, like I said, it's half the fun.
The artwork is half the reason why I buy some of that stuff too.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at these albums, and sometimes the more obscure the better for me. As I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, this guy is on the cover in like a 1960s, 70s country music nudie suit, right, with rhinestones on it. Like, what's he got going on?
Right.
And then you also find like the B-sides, right, that wouldn't pop up on a Spotify playlist, but and then it probably inspired tons of musicians, but from hearing that in the 70s or 80s. And then, it's really cool. The artwork always seems to sometimes catch me, even if I don't know who the artist is.
Yeah, I've been collecting records since high school, and there's so many that are still in my collection that I bought based purely off of the artwork alone.
Yeah.
Not having any idea what it was.
And
just,
then you put
this
it on, you're
looks
like,
cool.
this is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
Liner notes, is that still a thing inside the album covers?
Yep.
That used to be a biggie.
Yeah.
Whether it was lyrics or just kind of like some notes from the artist, the songwriters.
And pre-internet, I mean, like even just in CD liner notes when I was a kid, that's how I found so many of my favorite bands, because you buy a record and a band that you're into at that moment, and they're going to thank all of their friends' bands and all of their influences, and they're going to reference different producers and recording engineers, and that's how I discovered so much of the music that I still listen to this day.
Or in the 90s, you needed the liner notes to figure out just what the heck some of the bands were saying in their lyrics. You know, like you need to get like, especially your alternative and your that kind of era where it's like, what the heck is Eddie Vedder singing about? And you had to go to the liner notes to get the lyrics straight.
Absolutely.
Well, I remember, it used to be 33 RPM, 45. Are we still dealing the same speed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still nobody really makes 78s anymore.
Right.
But that's kind of different. You need a really specific setup to be able to play those. They're different material. But 33s and 45s still, that's like the main two speeds. You get a lot of like really high-end remasters and stuff will be done in 45 RPM now, because it's a little bit higher quality. There's some super nerdy stuff, less intergroove distortion, all that kind of thing. But 45s are mainly still like little 7-inch records. And for the most part, standard 12-inch LPs are still 33.
Do we need to put this podcast on an LP? Do we need to press this onto wax?
Press
I think
it.
it'd be appropriate.
That'd be great.
It'd be pretty cool.
We're going to release this digitally, but I think we should probably get it pressed into vinyl so we can sell it at the shop.
Well, it's funny. A couple nights ago, my wife and I watched Pretty in Pink. And Molly Ringwald worked in the record store, John Cryer coming in, and they have, parts of the movie there. And I go, throwback, because, that's the age I grew up in the 70s, 80s. It was, you go to the record store and it was thumbing through and you pull something out and it was just, I don't know, and then it went away.
Yeah.
And how history repeats itself, and it's, it's we're back. I don't know how long. What do you know how long the gap was when people stopped pressing?
I mean,
I felt like it never went away, right? Like there was always a little bit of it out there.
It was never really commercially pushed. You couldn't find it anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, it never fully went away. The reason I got into it when I did, when I started collecting records, like I said, in high school, that was like early 2000s. And that was when vinyl was supposedly dead. But I kind of grew up in the punk and hardcore scene. And in that genre specifically, it never really died. Bands have been pressing 7 inches and records in that genre specifically since the 70s, so longer. And so it never totally died, but like you said, commercially, it wasn't really a viable thing once even cassettes and digital mastering with CDs and stuff like that came around. It kind of just killed vinyl. A lot of people, we get people coming in who tell me almost every day that we're open that they regret selling their vinyl collection to go and buy it all on CD because they wish they still had it.
You can't even find a CD player
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, right.
But
Good luck
that's
with that one. Yeah,
that's what happened. It kind of died out when the CD revolution happened. But the nice thing about recently and it coming back is not only that, like, you have, the subgenres and the less popular stuff pressed on vinyl, like kind of like you always have. But you have huge acts pressing on vinyl now. I mean, Taylor Swift and Sabrina Carpenter and all the big pop acts are pressing all their records on vinyl again, and that's how I know it's really come back into the forefront of like physical media.
Well, I know I was talking to Hamed Jones, our finance director, and his daughter on her wall has different Taylor Swift, albums.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the wall art now.
Yeah.
And that's been one of those things that, this new generation, so all the Swifties out there got to go buy whatever she's pressing and putting out. So is she been one of the main artists to kind of bring it back to a focal point?
I think you could, I mean, she's just kind of, ever present in everything. So, anything she does, like you said, the Swifties, her fans are maniacal. If she started pressing, cassettes again, they'd start buying them. So, and I think she does actually. But yeah, that was one of the main ones. And just in general, like the more mainstream pop acts, like I said, once that started to come around, mostly with like Taylor Swift initially, but now all of them are like last summer. You had Charlie XCX and Sabrina Carpenter like put out the 2 big main pop records of the year last year. And I think at this point they've sold more on vinyl than they have on CD.
it's awesome.
Which is a really cool thing to see for the industry. And just, I think in general, like physical media is an important thing that we kind of lost track of with everything getting digitized. Yeah. So,
and there's something cool too about taking, especially like I like to buy old vinyl because, and we're talking like usually old country from like the 70s and 60s, but that's its like pure native form, right? And that's how it was pressed back when it came out in 75 or whatever, And so it just has a cool feel to it because you're literally listening to it the way it was released back in whatever,
Yeah,
so
it's
it's
the way
very cool.
the artist intended.
Right, exactly. Understanding that when they're mixing the album, well, how's this going to sound on the record player?
Yeah.
Well, I remember working in radio back in the early 1980s, and Warner Brothers or RCA, Epic, they would send you, whatever the demo, the 45s and albums would come out, and we'd get them before they're, released.
Yeah.
And we would put them on the turntable.
Yeah.
And we would play live radio.
Yeah.
You'd pull it right out of the sleeve, put it on there, drop the needle, and it was the old school radio was all about vinyl, and protecting that. But I remember those orders coming in just to, that the promoters would send that stuff out. And
those radio promo copies are they're usually labeled pretty specifically.
Yeah.
It's a blank white label.
Yeah.
And those nowadays are worth a fortune because they are some of the rarest versions of these old records, because they came out usually before the record was actually released to the public. And so the rarity level is just like kind of crazy. So the promo copies are some of the most expensive versions of records you can get nowadays. It's kind of, it's nuts. The vinyl market is a little crazy right now with used stuff, but those promo copies are extremely valuable.
Which I guarantee all the radio stations just threw them away when
Exactly.
they went digital. They just tossed them.
they were all the giveaways.
Yeah.
You just gave them away at whatever, live remote you did or whatever promotion for a business. You're handing out records like it was,
exactly.
like it was candy.
Like candy,
Yeah. Well, out of curiosity, what's the price point now for?
It depends. For new stuff, generally speaking, you're looking at between I'd say anywhere from 28 to 48, 50, depending on different genres kind of price a little bit differently. Some of the more mainstream stuff like pop and hip hop is a little bit more expensive, just again, very generally speaking. But you're looking at like between 30 and 50 most often. Okay. And, you know, some people come in or would come in to the smaller shop and kind of balk at the price. But if you adjust for inflation, it's actually about the same as it was in the mid to late 70s. So, yeah, about 30 to 50 depending. And, you know, then there's special editions and like double LPs or more than a single LP. So there's variation, but generally speaking, about 30 to 50 for a new record.
If we go into House of Wax, is there a demo opportunity? You kind of play and listen? Yeah,
for sure. We that was one of the things we really wanted to do in the original location, but we just didn't have the space for is listening stations like you would have at an old record store. Even when I was growing up with CDs being the main physical media, you'd go into like a Sam Goody or a place like you mentioned, and there'd be a whole display with like a number system, and you could dial up, oh, I want to listen to CD number 6 and throw on some headphones and check it out before you bought it. So that was kind of the idea what we wanted to have in the new place. So we do have a couple turntables set up with some headphones. You can check out a used record before you buy it if you want to. Or a couple people already have bought a new record, opened it up immediately, and gone right over to the listening station to listen to it, which is really cool to see people getting super excited about it. So,
and you also have turntables for people to purchase too, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was another thing that from the beginning we wanted to have turntables and speakers and all different hi-fi equipment, but we just didn't have the space for it. So now we do, and we have new and used turntables. We sell new speakers. We have used receivers and amplifiers and stuff. We have a local repair guy who kind of refurbishes everything for us that's awesome. Used. So yeah, shout out David Lillington. He's the best. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we have all that stuff for sale now too. Headphones, all that kind of thing.
And the digital side, the algorithm and stuff like you pointed out, I think that actually has benefited, just kind of use the term older music, because once it understands like a listening trend, it starts saying, well, you might like this. And so I'm surprised these days of how many younger folks are still listening to old music, basically, because their digital setup, whether it's Spotify, Apple, whatever, says, hey, you might like this, and then they're into that stuff.
Yeah.
Because and then they also understand, like, there's influences from some of their favorite artists were influenced by somebody when they were growing up, and the chain goes on, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, go back to like the blues. Like the blues have inspired so many, from hip hop to rock. Go down the list. Like the old blues records are a lot of people took guitar riffs from and sampled and used them on different things. And so it's really crazy how the digital's actually almost benefited the lifespan of music, because people now get suggestions of stuff that they probably would never look up on their own.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something we try not to like gatekeep in any way, and like in our love of physical media. Like, we use Apple Music every day. We stream music all the time, and I think there are huge benefits to it, and that's one of them for sure. Like, I don't know, a couple years ago, I guess it was a few years ago now, I'm probably dating myself with the memes, but there was that video of that guy skateboarding around, I think it was downtown LA, with a bottle of Ocean Spray,
right,
listening to Fleetwood Mac.
Right.
And that Fleetwood Mac song, Dreams, blew up. Yeah. It went back to #1 on the charts because of a TikTok video.
Right,
you know?
Right.
So that kind of thing, that exposes an entire new generation to like one of the greatest albums of all time, Fleetwood Mac Rumors, but they may not have even known that it existed.
Well, I saw a 12-year-old wearing an AC/DC shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And asked her, I go, do you even know who they are? He was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
AC/DC, you know, Hell's Bells, Back in Black. I was like, okay.
One of my kids' favorite songs is actually AC/DC Dirty Deeds.
Yeah.
They love Dirty Deeds.
Classic.
They love the build-up and you know, the riffs and everything. They love it.
Yeah.
And he's 8.
Yeah, it's always awesome to see like younger generations getting into stuff that we would consider like classic albums like that. I love that. So.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot to expose our community to vinyl and to music from all genres too. West Lane, you know, you go out and you do, you know, vinyl night at West Lane Brewing.
Yeah.
And I know Alchemy Jiu-Jitsu has you coming out this weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
know?
Yeah, we're going to spin some stuff for, they call it an open mat for all the people who roll jiu-jitsu. You can kind of come and spar with anybody. And they're doing their 4th anniversary, I think it is, this Saturday. And they asked us to spin some vinyl during that, which is going to be cool. But yeah, West Lane and Vinyl Night is a huge thing. we had seen the trend a couple places online and wanted to try it where places like bars and stuff would have a record store come out and just play records. And the whole idea is that anybody who comes can bring a record with them and we'll play it. Yeah. And a lot of people, have pretty basic setups for turntables, some small bookshelf speakers, and they don't get to hear a record really loud like that. So we go over to West Lane and we play it through the house system and we crank it. And we get all kinds of different music, different genres. People bringing in it'll be death metal 1 second and then classical the next, and it's really cool because, like you said, it's exposing people to different stuff that they may not have heard before. So, and we love West Lane, Derek and Jess. I mean, we owe them a ton. They're the best. And so having that partnership and that collaboration with another local business too is just really cool.
I was just going to bring up the business to business aspect.
Yeah.
And, with Two mentioned, I know Peak Collectibles, they were in and we were promoting, the business, and he was talking about working with you guys and how I love hearing that we've got local small business people. You guys are not thinking, it's a competitor, it's competitors. You guys are like, how can we work together?
Right, yeah.
Whether you're going over to West Lane, Peak coming to you, vice versa. I mean, it just kind of exposes the whole community to multiple businesses, and I think the community benefits.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And there's a few businesses we kind of work with, Peak being one of them. Jesse's great. And then Fiddler's Crossing, too. We sell tickets for the Fiddler's Crossing shows at our location, so they have another place people can come and pick them up. And we love Peter and Debbie, again, have been super supportive of us. And it's just nice to be able to, have that sense of community, especially, specifically in the downtown area. And it is, in fact, quite the opposite of competition. We want everybody to be friendly, and we want to help out. And in the new store, we started stocking some crystals and stuff like that because my wife Kim's very into that kind of thing. We learned Healthy Hippie's going to be a couple doors down. And it's maybe we won't do that. That's their thing. We want to have them be able to serve that part of the community through their store. And we don't want to step on anybody's toes like that. So we're kind of always conscious of other businesses and, the people we've been friends with and been able to do collaborations like that with. Yeah. So it's very important to us for sure.
I think it's a good transition for downtown in the last couple months, maybe 6 months or so, but we're really seeing this sort of shift a little bit, which is good to make things a little more eclectic and diverse. The antique shops are great and everything, but that's pretty much for a while all we had in downtown as far as shopping wise. Then we've added a few, clothing stores over the last couple of years, boutiques, that sort of things. When Funk and Junk moved in, they were antiques, but not your typical Victorian era furniture, right? They were different.
They've got their own spin on it, for sure.
And so that kind of started, and then with you all coming in and I think it was good that you had some larger businesses like Tehacha Sleep doing mattresses and furniture that just kind of outgrew that location and they go somewhere else, open up an opportunity for a smaller shop, something a little different. And as you mentioned, Healthy Hippie, new age healing type stuff, so there's going to be some diversity downtown that allows folks to walk, and it might not be your cup of tea, and you'll go to the next one that is. And so that'll be good, I think, tourist traffic wise, and locals too. But just to have that mix downtown and grab some people's attention, and then someone walks into your vinyl shop, but maybe mom who's with the kids isn't going in there, but she's going to go next door to Nanette Keller.
Exactly.
And so
we actually saw a lot of that over the weekend.
Sure. You guys kind of share an entryway, right?
Yep,
You're on the left, she's on the right, so it's pick your poison. So there's a good opportunity, I think, for meeting a broader audience of potential downtown shoppers.
It changes the demographic. It increases the demographic that come downtown.
Yeah, we think so too. Yeah,
that diverse. And one of our goals here at the city was to attract younger audience members, community members, to start following us and understand how local government works. And that's been, as we start to see, and we've got, Maya is really kind of become the face of the city, sharing the messages, we are seeing our demographics change and get younger that are paying attention. So I can see the huge benefit to downtown, having a store like yours, with it being a record store, attracting a younger demo, but then with that spillover, it's, you guys all, I think, benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and another place, shout out real quick, is Windfall Games. You guys, if you can get them on here, you should. They're awesome, and it's just another place that we try to promote in House of Wax, a sense of not only like community and a place to come buy a record, but we want people to feel like they can hang out. We've got couches in the back and a big TV, and like we want people to hang out and spend time there. And that's the kind of thing that Windfall does really well too, with their gaming setup and One Fine Day. There's so many local businesses that I think are kind of promoting the same idea. So when we can all sort of work together like that, I think it just benefits everybody.
I think that's the beauty of like a downtown when it's where we've matured to, is that you come and you just kind of chill. It's not like I get in my car, I go to point A, got my whatever I wanted, my widgets, and I go back home. I come, I park, let's just take a stroll, enjoy all the different things that are there.
Yeah.
And you get an experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's so much variety.
Yeah.
So much variety. So like you said, there's something for everybody in the family to do. And from 8 a.m. in the morning until 9 p.m. at night on Saturdays.
Yeah, right.
It's something for everybody to enjoy.
That was part of it too, is like I mean, it's funny. I grew up near LA, so saying open late at 8 a.m. is kind of still weird to me. But around here, that is being open late, We're open until 8 most nights, 9 o'clock on Saturdays, and that's the same thing. We want kids and people who are looking for something to do to have a place to go and just hang out. And that was kind of important because, it can be kind of a sleepy town sometimes, and that's part of its charm, and that's one of the reasons we enjoyed it when we moved up here. But it is cool to have places open a little bit later and stuff like that. So that's something we wanted to kind of focus on for sure.
Well, I know when I moved up here 25 years ago, everything closed at 5.
Yeah.
And there was nothing open on Sundays except for church and the gas stations.
Yep. Yeah.
You can go get breakfast after church, and that was it.
Yeah.
It's definitely grown. It's not L.A. where I grew up,
right? Yeah.
And thank God that it's not.
Yeah.
Because if I wanted it to be there, I'd still live in L.A.
Yeah, right.
And I don't. I want a little bit of this country, small town, feel, but still get to enjoy, a variety of different kinds of businesses and stores. Yeah. And I think the other thing that we really like to try and talk about, promote, is you're our neighbor. You live here. We want to make sure we support all of our local businesses because it has an impact, and how that ripples out, and the way you work with other neighboring businesses. I think it's just that sense of community is a big deal to promote and support.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know like all these local businesses we've been talking about, these are all people who live here. Like you said, they're literally our neighbors, but you guys are actually, I'm right across the parking lot from City Hall. So like, it took me 30 seconds to walk over here this morning, but it is something that's kind of constantly on our mind because it is what we're surrounded by. I know that Jesse and from Peak and Derek and Jess from West Lane, like they're literally our neighbors and they're part of our community without the business aspect. So having that connection on that level as well is it's really great.
That's awesome. What do you have? It's probably a really hard question to answer, but do you have one like record that's like your jam? Like this is your favorite one on vinyl?
I'm laughing because before we came in here, Claire was like, "Yeah, something about my favorite records." I was like, "That's the hardest question." And every time I talk to anybody in this kind of situation, it always comes up. But it's really difficult to pick one. It's extremely mood dependent.
Right, exactly.
But that's kind of the beauty. Yeah, that's the beauty of music is you can kind of pick according to your mood,
right,
and what you want to hear in that moment. I mean, generally speaking, off the top of my head, like one of my favorite bands of all time is Thrice. They're like a post-hardcore band from they started in like the early 2000s, but they're still around today. And one of their records in particular called Visu is just, I go back to it still to this day and listen to it all the way through. Every single song has some sort of like deep emotional resonance for me, whether that's a memory or just the music itself. But there's so many records. I mean, I've been playing music and listening to music for more or less my whole life at this point. So it can be really difficult to choose. But I guess off the top of my head, that's probably what I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just depends if I'm feeling sometimes it's simple as what the weather is.
Yeah.
If it's a rainy day, I'll put on a particular record because it suits that vibe,
Yeah.
So it's really dependent on so many different things. But off the top of my head, I'd say Thrice Visu's probably regularly within the top 3.
Sure.
So
nice.
That makes me throw back to the early Van Halen days. Van Halen's
yeah.
1 and 2.
Oh,
Those were cover to cover. Drop the needle, let it track through, flip it over, and then play the whole thing. The B-side.
Well, that's the thing. It's the B-sides and the stuff that you realize are actually really good songs, but some A&R guy years ago thought it wouldn't be a good single, so it wasn't put out on radio, but you're like, this is gold. Like, this is fantastic. But I mean, A&R at the time was like, nah, this isn't going to work as a hit. Focus Group said, go with this, you know, and they go with that, but they put it on the album anyway, and you don't catch that as much anymore when you're just listening to hits, you know, sometimes. But I have... so I think my favorite on vinyl is Waylon Jennings' Rambling Man.
Oh, it's so
like
good.
one of my favorite ones. And then I got a Charlie Pride one. I actually got it not too long ago.
Oh, cool.
Dug it out at a used sale somewhere. It's
nice.
An old Charlie Pride. I can't remember which one it is, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So those are like my two
What
favorite
about
ones.
you, Claire? What's your favorite record?
Oh my gosh.
We got to go around the table now.
I know, right? Well, probably like my first record experience, I was listening to Sinead O'Connor.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
so to this day, that's one of my favorites, is just to put that back on and just, you know, kind of relive that experience.
Yeah.
My parents had so many, like growing up, like I said, we had the big like cabinet record player. It also had an 8-track deck in there, and didn't have many 8-tracks around, but they just had stacks of like, you know, Alabama, right, on vinyl. And, you know, I bought this just for nostalgia's sakes, but when they first pressed it, I think it came out probably the same time, both on vinyl and cassette. But when George Strait did his Christmas album, Merry Christmas Straight to You, had to buy that on vinyl recently because I saw it. I just got to have this, like, for Christmas time.
Yeah,
like, I got to have
absolutely.
this. This is a quintessential Christmas album. Like, so it's cool to relive some of that stuff. And then, you know, all the, like, Willie Nelson stuff that they used to have on vinyl and everything like that. Like, it's just listening to it in its raw form when it's recorded in the 60s and 70s that way. It's just awesome.
And I think music is so like explicitly tied to memory. You know, like scent is like, I think scientifically the one that like triggers the most intense memories. But for me, if I put on a record that I've been listening to my whole life, it'll take me immediately right back to where I first heard it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the first record I ever spent my own money on was Green Day Dookie.
Yeah.
And if I put that record on, I'm like right back to like elementary school, just like who is Billy Joe Armstrong and like why is he so cool? You know, it's like, so it can be an extremely nostalgic thing.
I was in San Diego last week and took in a Padres game, and they played Blink 182 between innings, right? That Small Things. And so like you've got, there was a kid, like I happened to be like on the concourse at the time, like taking my kid back from the bathroom or something. And like there were young kids that were singing that song through the speakers. And then literally when they got to that point where it says work sucks, they pulled it down and the entire crowd said work sucks and they pulled it back up. And I'm like, you know, this came out in the 90s. It wasn't a vinyl record, but it just like, and that scene, especially in the alternative and like punk scene, San Diego was huge in the 90s, and like it resonated with people still to this day. You know, there's 30,000+ people singing along to the Blink 182 song they put on the speakers. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's what I mean about the nostalgia. Like you even just bringing up that song, I think, you know, I remember playing that record in my front yard, skateboarding with my friends, and my mom coming out and getting mad because there was a bunch of cursing on the record. You know, like, so there's memories to that are just tied to these things. That it makes it a really emotional experience, music. And I think the physical part of that, like having it on a record or a CD, makes that emotional response even more intense.
First one I bought, Ted Nugent.
Nice.
Scream Dream. Back there in the late 70s.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice. Yeah.
There you go.
Ted Nugent.
Right on.
Yeah. No. Ted Nugent's
still around, man. He's still doing his thing.
I
He's
think
still
so.
touring.
Yeah.
He's still touring. He's as crazy as ever.
Yeah.
talking about
little crazier
bow
maybe.
hunting and
hunting a lot. Yeah.
Second Amendment rights.
I did. What was the other thing? One of the last interviews I heard from him, he was talking about how he doesn't allow fabric softeners in his house because of the chemicals.
Oh, jeez.
That or like scent things and stuff like that. Like he believes there's chemicals in him, so none of that's in his house. You know, I'm like, sounds like Ted Nugent.
That's
He's always been a little crazy.
That's Ted Nugent.
Amazing guitar player, though.
Absolutely. And even mixing the records, too. Like, I was watching something recently. It was a Led Zeppelin documentary. And they were talking about when they were making Led Zeppelin 2, how Jimmy Page... Because, you know, Page was the guy behind the sound a lot. Like, Robert Plant was a heck of a vocalist, but, like, Page did most of the songwriting, and then they would just kind of glom on. The whole band would come on and finish the song. Like, you know, Page would start with a guitar riff, and then they'd build off of that. But even, like, they were showing just clips of him mixing the record, and how he was trying to get that unique sound. And today you can get your computers to do that most of the time, right? The editing software is pretty automated and you can get that sound. I mean, he's literally, because he wanted that pan in from left to right, you know, understanding the hi-fi speakers and that sort of thing. So he physically had to go through the masters and then at the right time work the sliders and all this stuff. I mean, it took him and one production assistant days to mix one song because he's just trying to get the opening right, you know, and that sort of thing. And that
mixing was an actual like physical art form back in the day. You know, you can automate things. You can, like you said, have the computer do it. You had to be pushing faders, moving things around, and just to get it exactly right. It was a performance. You'd have 4 or 5 guys on a mixing console sometimes moving stuff.
Even a voice echo, like just to echo Robert Plant's voice, he had to re-loop the tape backwards to get that echo reverb that he wanted, which now you can just, that's a setting in your editing software. But he had to physically take another copy and reverse it as he was trying to echo. It was nuts.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. You know, I play in bands a lot too. I have my whole life, and recording has gotten like just kind of crazy simple these days. Even the setup here, you know, you've got one of these decks that you can just plug the mics in, everything's ready to go, and it makes it super easy, which is awesome in the sense that anybody can do it, and it makes it a little bit more accessible for everybody. But one of my bands just specifically went to a specific recording studio because we wanted to record to tape like they used to. And that was a whole crazy experience, you know. But that's the kind of thing that I think, like we're talking about the benefits of digital streaming and stuff versus, you know, the benefits of vinyl, and there are both. And I think it's the same thing with that kind of technology in terms of recording and mixing this kind of thing. It's like there are benefits to both, and there's a certain sound to each thing, and sometimes you just have to go the old school analog way to get it to sound the way that way.
And I know when like it was like 94 or 95 when Pearl Jam put out Vitology, they said, we're pressing this on vinyl. And they're like, you're nuts. Why are you pressing it on vinyl for? Because like that was right in the CD revolution time, right? Vinyl was dead. And they're like, no, we want this sound. Like, we're going to put it out on CD, but like, we want to press this to vinyl. And so they actually were one of the first like main bands to go back into the vinyl world and say, hey, we want to press this because of the sound. And they did it. And that kind of helped, you know, lead folks to go down and buy that and then buy other stuff.
Absolutely.
So Matt, House of Wax.
Yes.
What have we not talked about that's at your store? We've gone down the journey of memory lane with records and
I should take a second to shout out my wife Kim, because she is the co-owner and she really wanted to be here today, but she is working. She has a full-time job, so she's doing that right now. And if she wasn't doing that, like I was telling Claire earlier, we'd be lost without that. So, but yeah, shout out to Kim. She's the heartbeat of that place. I mean, you complimented the way it looks inside, and I mean that 90% of that is her. She's like kind of the mastermind in terms of how we merchandise things and the way things look and the vibe within the store. I give her all the credit in the world for that. So should definitely talk about her and give her a shout out. Hi, Kim.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a team effort, and in this new space specifically, like we had so many of our friends helping, because we had about a month to kind of get it ready. So it was a really quick turnaround, and we had great friends like Leanne and Paul and David, and some of our regulars came in and helped us paint and do all that kind of stuff. So we would be nowhere without them. We would have been way behind schedule. So
do you keep the John Cusack movie High Fidelity on loop, like in that place?
I love that movie.
It's a great movie. It's such a great movie.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
You need like a Jack Black type employee though to hang out, right? Yell at customers for
hopefully
playing the wrong stuff.
We get a lot of people asking if we're hiring, and we're not yet, but hopefully we'll have them soon. And if they're even a quarter as much fun as Jack Black, that would be great. But yeah, I mean, we talked about Vinyl Night. I think the Alchemy Jiu-Jitsu thing on Saturday. On the same weekend, we've been doing Vinyl Night, which is the third Friday of every month. We've started to do kind of a more chill, laid-back version of the same thing the following Sunday at One Fine Day. Where we go in and during brunch hours, like 10 to 12, we play records there as well. But it's like very laid back, acoustic, chill kind of jazz stuff. We've been jokingly calling it Java and Jazz, but I think the name's going to stick. But But yeah, so that's something that we do too. That's the third Sunday of every month over at One Fine Day. And they're another business that we adore those people. They've been super supportive of us, and they're amazing food and coffee over there. We love it.
And
we
they're
go there
nuts.
every
They
Sunday.
own like 3 downtown restaurants.
It's crazy.
I asked Michael one time, I'm like, how, dude, you've got 3 downtown
Yeah.
restaurants. Like most people, they go crazy with 1, but
I
you
know.
and your family have 3. And
they're
he
all
hustles.
great, and they're
Yeah.
all, I mean, hopefully super successful. I mean, every time I go to Tehachapi, it's packed.
Yeah.
So, you know, I hope they're doing well. But
Right.
yeah, I think that's I guess our hours, we're closed
Yeah.
on Monday and Tuesday, but we're open Wednesday through Sunday. Wednesday to Friday is 11 to 8. Saturday is our long day, 9 to 9, and then Sunday we're open 11 to 5.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. there's-
Social medias?
Yes, House of Wax Vinyl. That's our tag on Instagram, on Facebook. I think we have a TikTok, but neither Kim or I really know how to use TikTok, so we're still kind of struggling with that one. But I think it's House of Wax Vinyl as well. And then our website, houseofwaxvinyl.com. Our entire new inventory is available on the website as well, so you can order there for shipping, or we have an in-store pickup option. So if you see something we post on our Instagram and you're out of town but you're local and you want to grab it, you can order it for in-store pickup and then come grab it anytime. So
Yeah.
Love the new sign out in front.
yes, yeah, that was great. Yeah. Shout out Vital Signs in Bakersfield. They did a
Yeah.
really good job. And they
And a benefactor of the sign grant program
yes,
as well.
I was going to say thanks to Corey, we were able to take advantage of that, which I think is a really cool thing that the city does. I don't know if other local businesses know about it, but they definitely should, because it's a really great program.
Yeah,
So,
we've been able to fund that for the next several years too, which is cool.
Awesome.
It just helps on the, as you know, on the startup costs, right? You're trying to
Yeah.
get everything going, and it's like you want to sign. A lot of folks are like, I want to open with that one because I don't have the money right now. Well, to get like half that money back,
Yes.
and like kind of like
It's
a rebate
huge.
situation is big to help
It's-
you make that decision to get the sign going.
Yeah, super helpful. Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do the sign at the time that we did it without the program. So that was really great.
And you guys have, and I was in the shop, I was talking to Matt, like, has probably the best view out of the shop
oh man.
of all the downtown business, just because the window looks right at the water tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
now with all
flags.
the lights that they're putting
You've seen them.
oh man,
Yes.
yeah.
We
the
debuted
last
the lights last night.
Yes.
Yeah, the last couple nights they were putting them up and testing them, and then
Right.
last night we were leaving and they saw the red, white, and blue lit up, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, this is really cool.
We had kind
So-
of a smaller version of that in years past. It was just done with our local guys,
Mm-hmm.
but we really stepped it up now. There's a company that's handling all of our decorations moving forward, and they'll put them up and maintain them and store them and do Christmas and when that time's around. But really wanted to do lights there, and so
Yeah.
these are LED. You can change colors on them
cool. Yeah,
for
I
the
saw 'em
seasons,
twinkling and flashing.
Yeah,
It's
so we
great.
went red, white, and blue as we're near the 4th of July, and
Yeah.
so it's a cool kind of maturation of that whole process. And the cool thing is these lights are really good commercial grade. They actually have a little expansion, so as the tree grows, the lights
cool.
will
Yeah.
grow and won't like
Nice.
And those
strangle
will
the
be
tree.
year round.
Yeah,
Oh,
those will be
okay,
around.
I was
Those
gonna
year
ask.
round.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
they'll be white, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then when there's specific holidays, they'll be holiday appropriate.
Just everything
So-
you guys have done with Railroad Park, I think, is really, really cool. It's looking beautiful. I can't wait
Yeah.
for it to be like fully open.
And there's a concert coming up.
I was just going to say
some point.
August 9th. We haven't talked about it yet, so here it is. August 9th, we're going to have 4 of a kind. They're going to come out and we're going to kind of break in the park, if you will,
Yeah.
Cool.
and do a 7:30 to 9:30 free concert for
That's awesome.
the public, showcase the lights in the park, and kind of the kickoff for Mountain Festival week. And that'll be the Green Street Get Down
Nice.
the following week, and the free concert on Green Street.
yeah. Yeah, Green Street Get Down last year was great. That was a ton of fun. So.
Well, I think, and the nice thing is when we've done events, Farmers Market, the Hometown Christmas, Green Street Get Down, you guys were great at tying in and figure out, hey, how can we connect? What can we do? You guys even had like movies and try to do like a movie screen. And
Yeah,
all
I think-
kinds of
yeah.
different things to just interact being at the Village Co.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
We're definitely going to be doing more of that kind of thing for sure at the new space, just because we have more space to kind of facilitate that kind of thing. But yeah, the last year when the Halloween trick or treat walk that the Go-To Girls put on,
Right.
We had a projector outside playing Hocus Pocus and letting kids come and get candy and stuff, and and just being right there on Green Street when we were at the Village Co was great exposure in general because of all the events that the city puts on. So, and it's the same where we're at now. You know, I mean, you can't park on Green Street when all that stuff's going on. You got to park on Tehachapi Blvd. So they're right there. Gotta walk right by.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
no, it's been great, and we're definitely going to be trying to coordinate more with like the city events and stuff like that, and being able to, put on our own events as well. And,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, good. Hey, Claire, Chamber.
Yes.
You've got stuff coming up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chamber's always doing things.
Yeah.
I want to jump into some of our events as we were kind of talking about events. We've got a ribbon cutting coming up as of this morning. We were able to solidify a date and time for Healthy Hippie Trading Company.
Awesome.
So they're very excited to cut a ribbon for their new space downtown on July 11th at 4 p.m.
Perfect.
So super excited. All of that information will go out later today. And then Tacos La Via is working really hard on getting their stuff together. So we're excited to, just kind of follow them on that journey. And then when they're ready, we'll be announcing, days and times for their grand opening as well. In July, we have July 24th is Business Night, powered by Race Communications. And this will be out at Meadowbrook Park. All of our members are invited to come out and set up a table and share information about who you are, where you are, what you do. And that way our community who's going to be out there for movie night will see all of these Tehachapi businesses. And they can learn, oh my gosh, I don't have to go down to Lancaster for this anymore. I can come here. And so we're getting as many of our members, pumped about this to come on out. Like I said, it's free for our members. Bring a table. And share. I mean, bring some records, and we can set you up over by the restrooms where there's power, and then you can spin if you want. But lots of really great opportunities there. That's July 24th, and that is the chamber meeting for July because we really want to encourage everybody to come out at that time. So that'll be 5:30 to 7 on July 24th. On July 25th, Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate is doing their grand opening. That's a Platinum Realty Group. But they have this wonderful building. They've completely done it up, and they're going with a new Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate brokerage. So kind of exciting. They have all kinds of new things that they can offer their clients. And so excited to learn more about that and celebrate with them. And then July 28th, disc golf course at the Nature Park in Golden Hills.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a very, very large disc golf course, and they're very excited to share this with everyone. They've been working hard on installing and getting that there, and so a really fun new route for everyone who enjoys doing that.
Yeah.
So
I've been bugging them for years to do it. I'm so glad Chris Carlson finally listened to me. Shout out to Chris Carlson. No, that really was a great spot for that. Just because there was one at Meadowbrook, it's just hard to play sometimes. It's 9 holes with an 18 setup, but when there's kids playing t-ball and baseball, like it's just not open, and the wind there is brutal in the afternoons. Like I've had discs just fly off into the ether. So now it's going to be awesome out at the Nature Park. So I'm really happy Golden Hill CSD is rolling out with that.
absolutely, I'm very excited for them. Yeah. Yay! And then coming up, we've got Mountain Festival is right around the corner. We're at 7 weeks out right now during this recording.
It'll be here before we know it.
I know. I didn't realize it was that close.
I woke up the other day and I was like, is that right? Oh my gosh. Okay. It's a good thing we're all on track. But August 16th and 17th, Mountain Festival parade signups are happening now. And we encourage everyone, businesses, groups, cheerleading squads, everyone who wants to come out and be a part of this. It's a wonderful opportunity to celebrate Tehachapi and our wonderful resources that we have here, our amazing community that we have. And there's like 3,000 to 5,000 people, depending on the year, that come out to this parade. So super excited to see everyone come out, but you can head over to tehachapi.com and get those parade applications. You can also send an email to chamber@tehachapi.com and I'll send you a parade application. But we would love to see you there. And rodeo tickets, the professional rodeo is going to be happening that weekend. Get Down on Green Street's going to be happening. So many fun things. We've got the 5K with TVRPD. They're going to be there. Pancake breakfast and church service on Sunday. We have amazing bands that are going to be coming up. So I'm so excited. We're going to be sharing updates all throughout. We're going to have a dunk tank.
You're gonna put Corey in it, right?
No, I'll say Keys in it. Is Key in it?
I'll be sharing an invitation to any city officials who would like to be part of the dunk tank.
I'll just sit
I
there
will
and talk
be-
trash about no one being able to throw the ball.
That's right. Just get them all riled up, right?
Yeah. But then with my luck, they'll send the high school baseball team out to get me, and they'll just dot the thing all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be out there, so hopefully somebody can get me dunked. But so many fun things, like bands all the way from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. on Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday, and amazing vendors, amazing food, just a wonderful time in Tehachapi where everyone can come together.
Lots of things to do. Look forward to here this summer.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And I really have to give a shout out to all of our partners who make this happen. We've got City of Tehachapi. Thank you so much for partnering with us on Mountain Festival. WM, Tehachapi Cement, Alta One Federal Credit Union, Terrigen, Saracoso, Tehachapi Campus, The Loop Newspaper, Mirabel Estate, Robinson Welding Supply, Knight Building Systems, TVRPD, The Village Co., Tehachapi Signs, Tehachapi Amateur Radio Association, who will be helping us with a lot of the volunteer and communication efforts, BHE Renewables, and ProTech Auto. So thank you all so much for making this happen.
Well, very good.
Yes. I want to give a shout out to a couple new members we have. We have Pierce Renewables. They've joined the chamber, and Mountain Dog Mill Works. And Tacos La Via has joined as well.
Very good.
So, yes,
Nice.
very exciting.
And congratulations again, Matt, on the new location, bigger
Thank you.
footprint, and much success. We're excited to see you, downtown in a much more visible spot.
Yes.
But also shout out to Village Co.
Yes.
And giving opportunity
Absolutely.
to small businesses to, stick their toe in the water.
Yes.
And
Yeah, we would
let
definitely
you-
not be where we are now without the people at the Village Co. They've been super helpful to us. So definitely shout out to them. Absolutely.
Outstanding.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. I grabbed Corey out of the hallway because, economic development, I thought this would be a
Music
great.
expert.
Yeah.
Very diverse music background.
Okay. All right.
That too.
But I think it's just exciting, that we bring in our small businesses, promote what you're doing, give you some exposure. Hopefully we create a little bit more buzz for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
thank you
and,
so much for having me and for the opportunity. It's really great.
It was a pleasure. All right, folks, if you've got a question for Claire, for Matt, Corey, myself, send it to media@TehachapiCityHall.com. I'll forward it off to whoever it needs to go to. We appreciate the time you spend with us, and we'll catch you again soon right here on TehachaPod. You've been listening to TehachaPod. If you have a question, a thought, or a suggestion, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. We'll catch you again soon right here on TehachaPod.